this version of the report and then
Well,
move?
we would wait for Diana to add her two pieces, and that would be what would go across to the common council. It's just we haven't seen those pieces yet. We've seen the first draft of the ideal model piece, and she made two modifications to that seemed to me to be relatively minor. The legislative piece we haven't seen, but I don't think that would be a fatal flaw from my point of view, because we know that that's a work in progress. We may want to add a note into the introduction saying that the legislative piece is very much a work in progress, and we'll develop that further for the final report. That might be the only thing I'd say with that. Martin,
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
Jeff.
sorry, real quick. I was just going to say I'm fine with that, and I'm happy to add a note in there, not only about the legislative section, but I think maybe about the report in general, that it's a work in. I don't want to say work in progress, but as we go through revisions and public outreach, it will certainly look different.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean I addressed that a little bit in the executive summary and in the conclusion, but I think it makes sense to have that up front too. That way, start and finish, you definitely want to connect those two. But yeah, I think we'd be okay with that. Martin, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think, the idea of this being a preliminary report, we're supposed to be at least communicate, what our, initial thoughts are about such a service. And I think the content that we have does that kind of job. So
yeah.
I think, I think we have a few months, before we have to issue a final report. So
yeah, we're looking at least 6 months from here before the final.
Yeah, so I think with what we have, I mean, I think that would be sufficient enough for the council or even the public to get a rough idea of what we found so far.
Yeah, I think and I think that was the intent here. Really, it was to start the conversation and provide some provide some good context in which the conversation can take place. And I definitely think this report achieves that. I'm especially feeling better given the fact that the city's light, the one item that really leapt out at me was the investment that the city's made with the street light poles and going with the smart light, which basically is designed to transmit data back. That's really akin to what Chattanooga did with its smart power grid. They said, "Oh, well, we invested in smart power grid. Hey, we can transmit other types of data back and forth as well." So really, that provides a way to connect the what Chattanooga achieved with what our city could achieve following a similar model. Again, a mesh network, municipally run, probably with a separate authority. And I mean, Martin, your piece addressing bonds applies to both the city and to any authority created by the city. So that's a very timely piece to have included. So really across the board, it's designed to minimize the direct impact on taxpayers and tax revenue. I think that will win us a lot of friends with the people that own homes and pay taxes in the city. So to me, I think we really have framed the conversation, as I say, extremely well. And that's to all of your credit. Diana, thanks for getting in. Jeff and I both saw your email. How much further do you think you need you have to go on those two?
I'll be wrapping up. Well, honestly, I think what kind of like delayed me a little bit was I volunteered myself to do the legal work. Even though I
Which I
don't mind,
thought,
yeah,
no,
that and that's totally fine. Um, but other than that, with the excuse me, my cell phone's ringing.
sure.
With the ideal model thing, I just want to kind of tweak some of my language
Okay.
and put it more in layman's terms. Because my
Oh,
experience being like a very technical writer, I don't want to
right.
use any jargon.
Sure. I think that makes sense. What I would suggest that might save time, can you send the latest version you have to Jess and she can work it into the main shared doc? And then you
Okay.
can make the chain, make those tweaks within that so that when you're done, that's just ready to go.
Okay.
Jess, would that work for you? Is that a thing you could add pretty quickly?
Yeah, I could add that right now, actually.
Great. And then you might want to do the same thing with where you're at with the legislative piece today.
Okay.
That way, again, you're making tweaks. The idea is that it's still a Google Doc, so it's still a shared doc that you can work in and edit, and then it's just saved right there. And
Okay.
then if you just email Jessica and Jeff and I when you're done making the tweaks, we'll know that this is good, to go.
Okay. Mhm. That sounds good.
Right, because we were just saying before you logged in that none of us believe that anyone is waiting patiently, or impatiently by their computer for us to have this at their desk before 11:59 p.m. tonight.
Mhm.
It's sad to think if they were, but I would hope they have better things to do with
Yes.
their time. But
Understandably.
some people don't have lives. I'm being one of them. So with that said, yeah, I just want to get it so we have a cohesive cohesive doc which frames the various parts of the conversation for us to advance that conversation as we move towards the final report.
Okay.
And I had said I thought that taking on a second might be what was taking you some time, and believe me, I appreciate you taking that on. I know that's a lot more work than people realize, and we can flesh that out as we move towards the final report. Expect that to change.
Of course. Yes. I
Yeah.
know originally, when I volunteered, I mentioned IT policy.
Yep.
And then as I was trying to write, well, that kind of puts us in like, like information systems, and it's not really relevant to this portion. Information systems is,
Right.
it would be more relevant if we were working with like existing infrastructure, but we're not. And this is something that's highly unregulated. So I just went more into like the more controversial, popular topics.
Privacy.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I think one of those are definitely concerns, though, that'll need to be addressed. The other thing which I had thought of, we can flesh out as we get into the final report, is if the city chooses to pursue creating a separate authority, that will require legislation. I believe the first step would be a request from the city to the state requesting that they create a bill and pass a law enabling the city to create the authority. And then the state would have to do it. That'd be our state delegation taking that up, which wouldn't be until next session at a minimum. Then that would have to pass, which will probably take until at least next spring, shortly after the release of our final report, to pursue this. What we may want to do is we can create an interim update as we proceed from the preliminary report to the final report, speaking to the fact that if they want to create a separate authority, it makes sense to start that legislative process now. It doesn't mean they have to create an authority, but it's important that they secure the permission to do so. So that way, if they do decide to move that way, they can hit the ground running. There's no years delay before they can do it, if that makes sense.
Right.
I think that's something that the research accountant, that research council for the common accountants can certainly weigh in on as well. He may be able to provide us some guidance on how to write that up. I did talk to Wusu a bit about that, saying that with Caitlin, who was our in-house attorney, so to speak, with her not being available to us for a host of reasons, we were really feeling that gap. And he said he would talk the research council and encourage them to make themselves available to us. So we may see them at meetings as we move ahead. Jess, you may want to touch base with them as well.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay. And just tell them that I'd spoken to Chief and that he'd said he talked to him, but just in case that conversation hadn't taken place yet, we just want to give him a heads up that the request would be coming. All right. So I also, David, before you got on, that Josh has said that he would vote to advance the preliminary report. And I haven't heard back from Caitlin. I haven't heard from. But if the rest of us agree to advance the preliminary report once your pieces are added, then I think that's the only thing we need to do right now. So are you okay with sending the preliminary report once we add your pieces to the
yes,
Common Council?
definitely on board with that. Right.
Okay, Martin, you're on board with that. You said, I believe.
Yes, correct. I'm on board with this.
Great. Jeff, you're on board? Yeah. Oh, okay. And I'm voting for it. We have Josh. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a majority of the current sitting members of the commission. We'll note the absence of Ed and Caitlin, but they can have a chance to weigh in on if they so choose. Jess, if you would just record that as a vote to advance the preliminary report once it is complete to the appropriate parties. And I think we are good. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to bring up? Questions? No? Okay. That said, we can wrap this up so that day you can finish up on those. If you have questions for us, just send a quick email, and we'll get right back to you.
All right, great. Yeah, it'll definitely be up by tonight. This finishing up.
Okay. And as I say, if you can just send what you have now to Jess, she'll add that to the combined report, and you can work right in that doc. It might save you a little time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all I've got for right now. I say just CC Jeff and I on that when you do that, so we can take a look too.
Okay.
And also, just one quick thing, when the report is complete, I know that sometimes with the Google Doc, the formatting can be weird when you export it.
Yeah.
So if you guys could just export it, and get it the way that you want, and then send it to me, that would be great, because I just don't want to,
Okay.
lose anything or anything like that.
Right. I know what the fonts seem to be consistent was Arial. I believe it was 12 for text, 15 for the headings. Beyond that, we can take a look. But yeah, what I would do is, because Dana, yours is really the last one, when you're set, send the email to Jeff and I and Jessica saying that you're good.
Okay.
Jess, I'll download that to Word and then make sure that it's formatted right, and then send you the Word doc, and I'll CC the whole commission. So,
Okay,
so you have that. All right. I think that, and Jess, when you send that across them, if you could just CC us all on that email, that would be good.
Oh, sorry. Did you say Jess or Jeff?
Jess.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Great. All right. All right. If that's it, All in favor of closing the meeting? Okay, Martin, I'm assuming that you got your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All right, folks. Thank you very much for all of your work. We'll get this wrapped up and have a great fourth. If I don't speak with you before that. All right.
All right. Have a
All right,
good
guys.
weekend, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Have a good night. Take care.
Thanks. Night.
All right. Bye.